Cori Broadus had always lived in the glow of her father's legacy. The youngest child of Calvin Broadus, known to the world as Snoop Dogg, she had grown up with fame as both a cushion and a weight. From early childhood, she was a familiar face to the public, not because she sought attention, but because attention always found her. But this time it found her in the worst way. It started with a photo. A simple, beautiful photo. Cori stood in her backyard, sunlight dancing across her skin, confidence beaming from her posture. She wore a form-fitting dress, her natural hair cascading over her shoulders. Her caption read, "Self-love is the best kind of love." Within minutes, the post gained traction. Thousands of likes turned into hundreds of thousands. Comments poured in. At first, they were mixed, some praises, some critiques. But then came the storm. People began dissecting her body with surgical cruelty. Strangers who knew nothing about her felt entitled to ridicule every inch of her appearance. "Why would she post this?" one wrote. "This ain't it," said another. Some went further, mocking her size, her skin tone, her expression. Cori watched the comments roll in, eyes wide, heart pounding. She had braced herself for opinions, everyone online had them, but she hadn't prepared for the sheer brutality, for the venom laced into every judgment. Her post, meant to uplift and empower, had become a feeding ground for trolls. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. These are the stories that deserve to be told, raw, emotional, and real. As the hours passed, Cori went quiet. She didn't respond. She didn't delete the post. But inside, she folded inward. She had always struggled with body image. Being a public figure's daughter meant every flaw was amplified, every imperfection a headline. But she had worked hard to love herself, to silence the voices that said she wasn't enough. This time, though, the voices were too loud. She stayed in her room for most of the day, phone turned face down. Her mother, Shante, noticed first. Cori wasn't laughing, wasn't singing along to her playlist. She wasn't doing anything, really, just staring at the ceiling. That night over dinner, the silence was louder than usual. Snoop glanced at his daughter, then at Shante. Something was wrong. Later, Shante gently knocked on Cori's door. "Baby girl," she said softly. "What's going on?" Cori hesitated, then turned the phone toward her mother. Shante scrolled through the comments, her face growing tight. "Why would they say this?" Cori asked, voice trembling. "What did I do wrong?" "You did nothing wrong," Shante said fiercely. "Nothing at all." Snoop found them together a few minutes later. He sat down beside Cori, pulled her into his arms. "You're my baby," he whispered. "Don't let this world change how you see yourself." But the damage had been done. Even as her parents wrapped her in love, Cori couldn't shake the shame curling in her chest. She felt exposed, humiliated, like she had shown the world her heart and they had spat on it. Outside the house, the internet buzzed. The post was being shared across platforms. Some celebrities chimed in, some in defense, others in subtle mockery. The story was growing and Cori couldn't hide from it. She had grown up in the spotlight, but nothing had prepared her for this kind of darkness. Cori didn't cry much, not out loud. But that night, alone with her thoughts, the tears slipped silently down her cheeks. She read the comments again, over and over, as if by rereading them, she might find a different meaning. She didn't. The words cut deeper each time. The next morning, she stayed in bed. Her phone buzzed constantly. Mentions, DMs, tags. Even people she considered friends sent messages saying, "Don't take it personally," or "Ignore the haters." But how could she? It wasn't just trolls. It was the world she'd grown up trying to fit into. Shante stood in the hallway listening. She heard nothing, no music, no calls, no signs of life. She knocked. "Cori?" Silence. She opened the door to find her daughter curled up under the covers, eyes open, staring at nothing. "This isn't you," Shante said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "You're strong, you're beautiful, you know that." "No, I don't," Cori replied, voice cracked. "I thought I did, but they made me feel like a joke. Like I shouldn't even show my face." Shante hugged her. "People hate themselves, so they try to break others. But they don't know you. They don't know what you've overcome." Cori nodded, but she didn't believe it. Not yet. Meanwhile, Snoop watched quietly. He had never been one for emotional displays, not publicly. But watching his daughter suffer made something inside him boil. He saw the screenshots, read the comments. His hands shook with anger. He had built a career in an industry that chewed people up. But he had always protected his family from that ugliness. Now it had invaded their home, taken root in his daughter's heart, and he didn't know how to fix it. Later that day, the media caught wind of the story. Blogs posted headlines, "Snoop Dogg's daughter faces brutal body shaming online." Commentators jumped on the topic. Some defended her. Others took a neutral stance, calling it a discussion on beauty standards. Cori felt like a headline, not a person. Then the messages shifted. Some influencers began speaking out in her defense. A plus-size model reposted Cori's photo, captioning it, "This is what courage looks like." Another shared, "We love you, Cori. You're beautiful, exactly as you are." Still, Cori didn't come back online. The damage wasn't fixed by a few kind words. The silence she retreated into wasn't for attention. It was for survival. That night, Snoop stood in the backyard, staring at the stars. Shante joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "I've never seen her like this," he said. "She's hurting," Shante replied, "but we can't fix this with money or fame. We have to show her who she is. We have to remind her of her power." Snoop nodded. "Then let's do that loud and clear." Inside, Cori scrolled through her phone again, but this time something caught her eye. A new message, this one from an old classmate she hadn't heard from in years. It read, "You don't know me well, but I've followed you for a long time. That post, it gave me hope. Don't let them steal your light." It was just one message, but it planted a seed. Maybe, just maybe, her pain had purpose. Maybe her truth, raw and exposed, meant something to someone. And in the quiet of her room, Cori closed her eyes. She wasn't okay yet, but she wasn't completely broken either. The next morning, Shante was already on her phone. She didn't call a publicist or draft a statement. She wrote from her heart. She posted a photo of Cori as a little girl, sitting on her daddy's lap, both of them smiling in the sunlight. The caption read, "To the world, she's Snoop's daughter. To us, she's the heart of our family. What you saw was a young woman standing in her truth. What you said, some of you, was cruel, thoughtless, and ugly. But she's not broken, and she won't be. Because she was built from love, and love doesn't crack under pressure. Leave my baby alone, and if you can't love yourself, don't punish others who do." Within an hour, the post exploded. Then came Snoop. He wasn't one for vulnerability on social media. His feed was usually filled with music, weed, and memories from his decades-long career. But this was different. He posted a video. No filter. No beat. Just him, sitting in his living room, eyes tired but fierce. "I've made a lot of noise in my life. I've seen hate. I've seen judgment. But I ain't never been more disappointed than seeing what y'all did to my daughter. That girl ain't just beautiful. She's strong. She's been through things y'all can't imagine. She stood beside me when I was broken, and now I'm gonna stand beside her. You come at her, you come at me. That's my baby. And I love her, period." The video spread faster than any news article. Celebrities reposted it. Supporters flooded Cori's page. Hashtags started trending. "We love Cori," "Body love is power," "Cori strong." Cori, still hesitant, watched in silence. She felt something strange building. Something unfamiliar after days of pain. She felt seen. The comments on her original post began to shift. For every cruel word, there were now dozens of affirmations. Women wrote long messages about their own struggles, thanking Cori for her honesty. Men apologized for staying silent when others attacked. Artists drew portraits of her, calling her a muse of modern strength. And amid it all, Cori sat with her phone trembling in her hands. "Why do they care now?" she asked Shante, who had come to sit by her side. "Because truth has weight," Shante said. "And when you speak it, even if people don't want to hear it, they feel it." That night, for the first time in days, Cori smiled. Just a little, but it was real. Still, she hadn't spoken. Not yet, and everyone waited. The world had watched her suffer, watched her parents roar. Now they waited to hear from her. Would she speak? Would she fight back? Would she retreat? Cori wasn't sure yet. Part of her wanted to disappear, but another part, stronger, deeper, wanted to answer the question that had haunted her since the first hateful comment. Who decides what beauty is, and why couldn't it be her? Outside her room, Snoop and Shante stood hand in hand. They knew the storm hadn't passed, but their daughter had begun to rise, and if she chose to speak, her voice would carry like thunder, because this wasn't just about a post, or a dress, or a photo. It was about a girl who dared to show herself, and a world that had to reckon with what that meant. Cori took a deep breath and opened the Notes app on her phone. Her fingers hovered over the screen, trembling at first, but once she started typing, the words flowed like a river breaking through a dam. She didn't write to defend herself. She didn't write to please anyone. She wrote because she had something to say. Later that day, she posted it as a screenshot, along with a simple photo. No filters, no makeup, just Cori as she was. When I posted that picture, I felt good about myself. I felt proud. I didn't expect praise, but I didn't expect to be torn down either. I've dealt with depression, lupus, body image struggles, and the pressure of being someone's daughter all my life. That picture was me finally saying, I'm enough, not perfect, just enough. And the hate, it hurt. It made me question everything. But then my parents reminded me of something. I'm still here, I'm still me, so to every girl who's ever been called ugly, fat, too dark, too loud, or too much, I see you. You are enough too. Let's keep showing up, unapologetically. Cori clicked post and walked away from her phone. She didn't sit around waiting for likes or comments. She just needed it out of her system, like an exhale that had been stuck in her lungs too long. The reaction was instantaneous. Thousands of shares, tens of thousands of comments. It wasn't just support, it was gratitude. Young women across the country reposted her words with their own stories of shame and strength. Mental health advocates praised her bravery. Body positivity influencers called it a moment we've been waiting for. But most importantly, Cori started to feel like herself again. She accepted an invitation to speak on a popular podcast hosted by a Black woman entrepreneur known for championing raw, unfiltered voices. During the episode, Cori shared more about her struggles, her battles with lupus, the fatigue of constant comparison, and the pressure to represent her famous family without ever showing pain. Her words resonated. The episode became one of the most downloaded of the year. From there, invitations poured in. Magazine interviews, school panels, women's conferences. Cori didn't say yes to everything, but when she did speak, people listened. She wasn't loud, she wasn't polished, but she was real, and that was her power. Meanwhile, the Broadus family grew closer. Snoop, once seen as untouchable, was now the protective father who showed his heart. Shante, long respected behind the scenes, became a visible force of maternal strength and clarity. Even Cori's brothers stepped up, publicly supporting her and calling out hate whenever they saw it. At home, the air felt lighter. Laughter came easier. There were still scars, but they no longer stung. One night, as Cori sat on the couch beside her parents, scrolling through more messages of love than she could count, she looked up and smiled. I'm thinking of doing something, she said. Something for girls like me. A space, a voice, a project. Snoop leaned forward. Whatever it is, we're behind you. Shante nodded. Let's make it happen. The seed that had been planted the day the hate storm began had now taken root. It was growing into something stronger than any comment section. Cori wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building. 3 months later, Cori stood on the small stage of a community center in South Central Los Angeles, her voice steady as she addressed a room full of teenage girls. Behind her, a banner read, "Enough, a safe space for self-love, healing, and empowerment." The project had started with an idea, one night on the couch speaking with her parents. Now it was real. Weekly workshops, mental health resources, mentorship from women across industries, and creative outlets where girls could express themselves without fear. Funded by Snoop, shaped by Shante's wisdom, and driven by Cori's vision, it was more than a program. It was a sanctuary. This space, Cori said, isn't about pretending. It's about showing up, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. The girls listened. Some nodded, others wiped quiet tears. They saw themselves in her, not just as a celebrity's daughter, but as a woman who had walked through fire and kept her voice. Outside the center, news crews had gathered. But Cori didn't focus on them anymore. Her story had gone viral, yes, but this wasn't about virality. It was about legacy. Snoop stood in the back of the room, hands folded. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. The pride in his eyes said it all. Shante stood beside him, the quiet architect of so much strength. That night, after the event, the three of them sat in their backyard under the warm glow of hanging lights. They didn't talk about fame or music or headlines. They talked about joy, about peace, about the women Cori had helped, about how far she had come. "You made something out of the pain," Shante said softly. "I had to," Cori replied. "If I didn't, It would have eaten me alive. Snoop looked at his daughter and shook his head with a smile. You stronger than all of us, she laughed. You made me that way. The stars stretched above them, unbothered by the world below. And in that quiet moment, the noise of the internet, the weight of opinion, the sting of judgment, all of it faded. Cori knew there would be more battles, more critics, more hard days. But now she had armor, crafted not from pretending to be strong, but from daring to be vulnerable. Her story had reached beyond the screen. It had sparked conversations in classrooms, inspired essays, even led to school counselors sharing her post during sessions with struggling students. It had become more than a reaction. It had become a reflection of something deeper. That beauty isn't just a look, it's a fight, a decision, a voice. And Cori Broadus had chosen to use hers. So when another wave of negativity rose, as it always does in the cycles of online life, Cori didn't flinch. She stood firm, rooted in the truth that saved her. She was enough. She had always been. And now, so many others believed it too, because she believed it first. If Cori's courage inspired you, subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. And don't forget to click the video on your screen to hear about another powerful moment of transformation.